Back on record in State versus Davis, C-377-407. Anything we need to address before bringing the jury in?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, bring them in.
Stand for the jury.
Did you line them up? We're waiting for them. Okay. The party stipulates to the presence of the jury.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may be seated. All right, now the state can call their next witness.
Daryn Dupree.
Good afternoon. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. You may be seated. And if you please state your full name and then spell it for the record.
Daryn, D-A-R-Y-N, Dupree, D-U-P-R-E-E.
Thank you, sir. Whenever you're ready, state, you may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, how did you used to be employed?
I was a detective for the Los Angeles Police Department.
How long were you with the LAPD?
33 and a half years.
And when did you start?
In 1990.
And through the majority of your career, what kind of crimes did you focus on?
Homicides, gang homicides.
I direct your attention to approximately 2006. Were you asked to be part of a task force related to the Christopher Wallace murder?
Yes, I was.
And can you describe that task force for us?
Robbery homicide, homicide specials, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, FBI, ATF, and DEA were all a part of the task force.
And was there a precipitating event that caused the 2006 task force to be formed?
Yeah, Christopher Wallace's mother filed a lawsuit against the Los Angeles Police Department
And what was the allegation in the lawsuit?
that there was police officer involvement in his death.
LA police officer involvement?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of the 2006 task force?
To uncover, first of all, if there was any police officer involvement, and also to hopefully solve the Biggie Smalls murder case.
Now, by 2008, this is 11 years after the homicide. I assume that there was records that the LAPD would have gathered initially in the investigation in the ensuing 11 years that you had access to.
Yes.
Did you guys, or did the task force formulate a plan as to how you were going to go about investigating the Christopher Wallace murder?
Yeah. There was rumors that this was a war between Southside Compton Crips and Mob Piru, Puffy Combs label, Bad Boy, and Death Row Records. So we started there, and that consisted of coming to Vegas, getting all their files, getting up to speed on the Tupac murder. Although we weren't investigating it, we just wanted to get up to speed on it. And then starting there, everybody was a suspect at that time in the Biggie Smalls murder.
At the time you come to Vegas and learn what information the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department is, who is the detective that you're having the contact with from Metro?
Detective Dan Long.
At some point, you go back, you begin investigating. Did you have any suspects that you identified and wanted to potentially look at?
From the initial investigation, Southside Compton Crip possibly had something to do with the murder because they weren't paid for the Tupac murder, and then also Death Row Records, that they were involved because of the retaliation for the Tupac murder. So, like I said, everybody was a suspect at that time.
During the course of the investigation, did you at some point focus on a person identified as Duane Davis?
Yes.
Do you see Mr. Davis here in court today?
Yes.
You point him out, describe something he's wearing.
He's at the defense table with a blue shirt and a multicolored tie.
May the record reflect the identification of the defendant.
Is he wearing a jacket or no jacket?
No jacket.
So reflected.
How is it that, how is it that you target Mr. Davis?
The vehicle used in the Christopher Wallace murder was a Impala. Mr. Davis had an Impala, and they had impounded it early on in the investigation. So we started with him.
And did you have information related to what his position was in the Southside Crips?
I mean, we knew that Mr. Davis was the man with all the money in their hood, in their neighborhood.
Now, you said that you, what was your role in the task force?
I was the lowest level, bottom of the food chain detective. I was a gang expert, and I knew a little bit about the rap industry. So that was
That's how you got brought in?
Yes.
The Southside Crips, did they have kind of two crews associated with them?
As far as I know, yes.
And one of those crews, the Burr Street crew, who was that sort of generally headed by?
It was Keithy D, amongst others.
The Glencoe crew, who was sort of the leader of that group?
From what we gathered, Darnell Graham.
How is it that you're going to go about investigating Mr. Davis for the Biggie Smalls murder? What's your plan?
I had never worked with the DEA, FBI. I was a homicide investigator coming in. So above my pay grade, they tried to figure out a way to get leverage on Mr. Davis through narcotic sales. We would bring him in after we caught him with narcotics and see if he would work with us and give us information on the Biggie Smalls case.
And were you able to gather enough information to potentially arrest and charge him with narcotics?
Yes.
And how much narcotics are we talking about here?
From what I remember, it was PCP, a gallon, and a kilo of cocaine, if I'm not mistaken.
And with Mr. Davis's past criminal history as well as that amount or weight of drugs, what kind of sentence was he looking at for that type of drugs?
As I said, I wasn't familiar with the Fed system. From what I was told, though, that was a life sentence with the amount of drugs that were confiscated.
So once you've gathered all this evidence, do you do anything to indicate to Mr. Davis that you've got your leverage?
We met with him.
And who's we?
Me and Detective Greg Cady.
And where did that meeting take place?
If I recall, it was at Mr. Davis's residence, maybe in Rancho Cucamonga or Corona. I forget the location. And we sat in his garage and we advised him of what we had. And we get an attorney and we'll meet with you a couple days later in LA at the Fed building and we'll discuss it more.
Now, was there a suggestion to Mr. Davis that he shouldn't use the lawyer by the name of Edie Fall?
I don't know anything about that.
Does there come a point in time when you wind up at a meeting with Mr. Davis and his lawyer?
Yes.
And that first meeting, what are you there to talk to Mr. Davis about?
to show him the evidence that we had against him, the video surveillance that we had. We did a lot of surveillance on him to show him everything we had and what he was looking, to receive in as a case against him.
And so do you eventually wind up in a meeting with his lawyer in either the lawyer's office or a police station to talk to him about that?
I think that first meeting was at the AUSA's office in downtown Los Angeles with him and his attorney and about 4 or 5 people from the task force.
And was there your understanding as to what the circumstances of what you could and couldn't use against Mr. Davis about what he's talking to you about?
Yes, and again, I'm just in the room. I never even been in the AUSA's office at that time, so I'm just observing what's going on.
Did anyone use the term "this is a proffer"?
Yes.
And was that agreement between the AUSA? Do you remember that AUSA's name?
Timothy Seawright.
And do you remember the attorney for Mr. Davis? His name?
Wayne Higgins.
And so there was an agreement in that first meeting that this would be a proffer.
Yes.
And during the course of that, do you ask Mr. Davis about his involvement in the Biggie Smalls murder?
Yes.
And what is his response?
At that time, he said, no, we didn't have anything to do with that.
When he said we didn't have anything to do with that one, did that trigger anything in your mind as to what he was saying?
When I recall, yes, we were like, that one, what do you mean? And then he said, we did the other one.
He said, we did the other one. And so, at that point, what did you think he was talking about?
Me personally, the only other one was Tupac. But we had nothing, we didn't think we were talking about Christopher Wallace. We didn't ask him any questions about Tupac. He offered that on his own.
And so when he does that, is there some discussion then of maybe having a conversation about Tupac?
It was a surprise to us. Number one, we were shook. We were surprised. Yes. I mean, I don't know if we shut that meeting down then to discuss what we were going to do. I don't remember, but we were surprised.
Does there come a point in time when there's a meeting set for December 18th of 2008 to talk to Mr. Davis about the Tupac Shakur murder?
Yes.
In your understanding, was that still based upon the agreement between Wayne Higgins and the U.S. Attorney that it would be a proffer session?
Yes.
At that point, before having this conversation with Mr. Davis, has anybody notified Las Vegas that Mr. Davis is going to be talking about the Tupac Shakur murder?
Unfortunately, no.
Were you present on December 18th for an interview with Mr. Davis about the Tupac Shakur murder?
Yes.
And did you subsequently learn, or previously learn, but subsequently learn that conversation was recorded?
Yes.
Do you know who recorded that statement?
One of the members of the task force, Bill Holcomb.
Did there come a point in time where you heard that recording?
Yes.
And Judge, I have marked as State's Proposed Exhibit 117, which is the actual recording, and 110, which is the transcript of that recording. I'm out from it this time.
Any objection?
I think at this point, currently, we're still lacking foundation with regards to that. The answer, the question that was asked was like, do you recognize the recording?
Okay. Do you want to play
I can play part of
Maybe
that
the
recording
first
for Detective
a couple
Dupree.
seconds and see if he recognizes it?
Yeah, there's
Not gonna
some
get-
walking in time, so we'll just
Well,
have to pull it
when
forward.
people
a little
actually
bit.
talk.
Yeah. I'll just jump forward. Hopefully. My volume off?
People or his associates, that's not a concern to us.
Yeah.
If you hadn't told Mike, we wouldn't have talked to him. We wouldn't want to talk to him.
Okay, another.
Does that sound like the conversation that was happening on December 18th, 2008 with Mr. Davis?
Yes.
And who was present at this besides yourself that you recall?
The lead detective, Detective Greg Kading, he was mostly in charge. Bill Holcomb and me. That's all I can remember.
Was Wayne Higgins present as well?
Wayne Higgins was there, and I'm sorry, so was Mr. Davis, of course.
And do you recall where this conversation took place?
It might have been at Wayne Higgins' office.
As I once again re-offer 117 and 110.
Did you want to show him 110 to verify that is the transcript of it?
Oh, you want me to?
Well, that was the objection, was that
Oh,
the foundation wasn't accurate, and we talked about the first item, but not the second.
then you take a look at that. You can read through as much as it is you need to. That appeared to be a transcription of that particular meeting.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's it.
Move to admit 110 and 117.
Any objection, Mr. Sanft?
No, Your Honor.
They will be admitted.
The jury is going to hear the entire thing at some point. But generally speaking, what was Mr. Davis's version of events as it relates to what happened with Tupac Shakur?
Mr. Davis stated that his nephew, Mr. Orlando Anderson, was jumped and beat up in a club or in a hotel in Las Vegas after the Tyson fight. He came and told Mr. Davis what happened. They went looking for Tupac, Suge, anybody who was involved, basically, in the beatdown of Mr. Anderson. And they couldn't find him at first, and then they saw him, and basically Mr. Davis had the gun at first, but they came up on the passenger side of Suge Knight and Mr. Shakur's vehicle, so he couldn't shoot across the driver. So he handed the gun to Dre in the back seat, Andre Smith. He was afraid to shoot. Mr. Anderson grabbed the gun and shot across Mr. Smith into Mr. Knight's car that Mr. Tupac Shakur was in with Mr. Knight.
And did he tell you what kind of vehicle he was in?
He was in a white Cadillac,
Did he tell you what kind of gun was used?
a 40 cal Glock.
And did he tell you after the shooting where the car went? If you recall. If you don't recall.
I don't recall.
After receiving this information in March of 2009, does the task force sign Mr. Davis up as a confidential informant?
Yes.
And once you sign him up as a confidential informant, what is it that you want to do with Mr. Davis?
Figure out ways to see if he's telling the truth about his story, about what happened.
And so what do you do?
Mr. Davis had a narcotics friend in New York by the name of Equan Williams, Zip. He said he could, this is a lot deeper than that. Sean Puffy Combs was supposed to have given money to Zip Martin to give to Mr. Davis for payment of the Tupac murder. Fast forward, we go to Mr. Davis. He says he can rekindle that relationship with Mr. Zip Martin and get him to talk about the money that was given from Sean Puffy Combs to Mr. Martin that never got to Mr. Davis.
And did you guys or Mr. Davis come up with a plan to get leverage on Mr. Williams, Zip? And what was the idea?
Me, Detective Kading, ATF Jim Black, and Keefe D, Mr. Davis, flew to New York so Mr. Davis can work undercover to try to rekindle that friendship and business relationship with Zip.
And when Mr. Davis goes in to, do you remember the name of the club?
It's called the Zip Code in Harlem.
Does he in fact meet with Zip?
Zip, he did, but from what we gathered from Mr. Davis told us, he passed him off to his nephew, meaning Zip passed him off to his nephew to do business with him. Zip had cancer or something like that. He was sickly. He said he wasn't in the business no more, something like that. So it didn't work.
So he was unable to reestablish a business relationship and do a drug deal with Zip so that you would have leverage to then talk to Zip about what Mr. Davis...
Objection, Your Honor, leave you.
I'm just confirming the information
Your
you just
response?
provided. What?
You're just confirming that the information that you just were provided is what?
I'm just confirming the information that he just testified to.
So then, overruled. You may answer.
Yes, he couldn't rekindle the relationship.
And so you come back from New York.
Yes.
At some point, does the LAPD establish whether or not LAPD officers were involved in the murder of Mr. Wallace?
We found out that there was not any police officer involved.
And eventually, Mrs. Wallace's lawsuit is resolved.
Yes, it does.
At some point, are you directed to attend a meeting involving Wayne Higgins, Duane Davis, and Dan Long, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department investigator on Tupac Shakur?
Yes.
And on September 9th of 2009, did you in fact attend that interview?
Yes.
And was that recorded?
Yes.
This morning, did you listen to portions of that to confirm that is in fact a copy of the 2009 audio recording?
Yes.
And if I approach you, I forgot this one. I'll get back to it. Showing you 111, if you flip that over, take a look at it. Does that appear to be a transcript of that 2009 interview?
Yes.
Move to admit 111 and 118.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
So admitted.
Finally, and I forgot to do this, during the conversation on December 18th of 2008, did you have some sort of chart that was put in front of Mr. Davis where he identified where people were in various vehicles?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Proposed Exhibit number 147. Is that a copy of the chart that you had prior to the December 18th, 2008?
Yes.
Move to admit.
Any objection?
No objection.
So admitted.
Thank you, sir. I pass the witness.
Cross-examination, Mr. Sanft.
It's 2.5 hours. I'm not going to play with him on the stand.
Mr. Dupree, we had some conversations here about what you did on this case. Did you ever write any reports on this?
Sure I did, yeah.
When you say you're sure did you review any reports in preparation for your testimony here today?
I think I reviewed one report.
Which report did you review?
It was a DEA 6 passing the case over to Las Vegas Metro.
And with regard to that report, did you draft that report yourself?
Yes.
When you say it's a DEA 6, is that a form?
Yes.
Is that a form used by the DEA agency, I guess would be the Drug Enforcement Agency?
Yes.
Did you write any reports on your own with regard to what you did within the LAPD, umbrella or report writing?
I'm sure I did.
When you say you sure did, are you telling us today that you don't know for sure what reports you wrote?
I'm saying that when you have a cold case, a lot of reports are already written. So you interview people and you do a statement on it, but the majority, this was 2006 when we started, the murders happened in 1996 and 97, so a lot of the reports were already written.
So with regards to, you're classifying this as a cold case?
Yes.
And what is a cold case to you?
It's a case that takes a long time to solve.
And with regard to the cold case, which are you talking specifically about the murder here, the murder investigation of Tupac Shakur?
I'm talking about what we classified Christopher Wallace case. I don't know if they classified Tupac a cold case at that time.
I see. So you were part of the task force specifically on Biggie Smalls, which is called Biggie Smalls.
That's why we started the task force, because of the lawsuit.
All right, and you are classifying that as the cold case.
Yes.
So all your work would have been under the Biggie Smalls investigation, not necessarily under the Tupac case that we're here for today.
Yes.
And so with regard to your actions on the Biggie Smalls case, a lot of what you're doing sort of blends into, at least some of it blends into the Tupac investigation, but that wasn't your investigation.
No.
That was Metro's investigation.
Yes.
Now, on the day that we're talking about here, and this would be under the recordings that you had from the 2008 proffer, did you set those up?
No.
Who set them up?
Probably the lead investigator, Greg Kading.
Okay, and with regards to Greg Kading, you're his partner.
In a task force configuration, you might peel off with one person more than the other, so I would say me and him did a lot of work together.
And with regards to what he is that he's also a fellow LAPD detective.
Yes.
All right. And so with regards to your being, let's say not part of the task force, were you ever his partner outside of the task force?
I met Detective Kading at Wilshire Homicide. Wilshire Homicide is the area that Christopher Wallace was actually killed in. Robbie Homicide inherited the case or took the case because they had more resources to work. Me and Greg worked together at Wilshire Homicide. Greg Kading started this task force, and he brought me over years later to this task force.
I see. So up until that point when he brought you over, you guys weren't partners?
No. He was working narcotics. Greg knows the narcotics FBI DEA system very well. I didn't.
All right. And so in terms of your awareness about the Tupac investigation, when were you first made aware of the Tupac investigation?
Through the media, as soon as it happened.
Right.
I mean, everybody knew about that.
And in terms of, though, your involvement or the official, are you telling us it's at the time of the proffer that you become sort of more involved in the Tupac?
At the time that Mr. Davis offered the information that he offered is when we even thought about doing anything with Tupac.
But isn't it true, though, that you actually were more aware, you actually were that Detective Long was the Metro detective on this case as early as 2004?
I didn't start until 2006, so I just knew he was the investigator assigned to the case when I got there.
I see. So as of 2006, you would have been aware that Detective Long was the investigator from Metro?
Maybe 2006, 2007, when we decided to come out to Vegas and gather intel on the Tupac case, just for investigative reasons.
Okay. And with regards to your participation in the task force, was there a name for the task force?
Christopher Wallace Task Force.
Okay, so it's the Christopher Wallace Task Force. And you first contact Mr. Davis on, looks like November 21st, 2008. Is that about right?
I don't remember the dates, but
Okay. Now, in terms of your, you're saying though that your review of the evidence in preparation for today's, or your reports in preparation for today's testimony just consisted of the DEA 6 form?
yes.
Now, at the time of November 21st, 2008, you and Greg Kading are the ones who initially contacted Mr. Davis, right? You didn't do it by yourself.
No, me and Mr. Katie.
Okay. And you basically advised him at that particular point that, you know, he was potentially looking at an indictment for narcotics. Is that right?
Something to that effect, yes.
Yeah. And once again, you're doing this because you are targeting Mr. Davis because you believe he may have been a suspect in the Biggie Smalls murder.
Yes.
Okay. Now, at some point, I would assume in the future, you're going to tell all of us that he was no longer a suspect in that murder, right?
That is correct.
You found information that were indicating that the car that was potentially the car used in the Biggie Smalls murder was not his vehicle, maybe somebody else was there. And there were some issues with regards to his location that he wouldn't have been the one to be the shooter in the case.
Whatever the reasons, I just know he wasn't involved in the Biggie Smalls murder.
Okay. And then with regards to your conversation with Mr. Davis, when you had that conversation at his home, you talked about being in the, I guess, the garage of his home at Rancho Cucamonga. Is that what it was?
I forget the city, but it's out east.
Okay.
That's where he lived at the time.
And you had at some point told him that maybe he should retain an attorney to handle the issues because he was going to be dealing with the United States Attorney Timothy Sealwright. You remember having that conversation with him?
I don't think we threatened him or anything like that. We just advised him that, hey man, we got some information, we got some things that you were involved in, and we need to talk to you. So we need to meet with you, with your attorney, at the AUSA's office.
Now, at the time that you had that conversation with Mr. Davis, you advised him that not to bring his attorney, which would have been Edie Fall, to that conversation, right?
No.
You advised him to actually bring this other attorney, Wayne Higgins. That would have been a brand new attorney for Mr. Davis, correct?
No. I didn't even know Mr. Higgins at that time.
Now, in terms of your, the meeting, Mr. Higgins shows up with Mr. Davis, and then there's a conversation between Mr. Higgins and Seawright regarding the proffer agreement, but that wasn't with you being present in the room. Fair?
No, I wasn't
Okay.
present.
Now, you had, though, at some point being informed that there was a proffer agreement, and then there was follow-up interviews that occur as a result, right?
That's correct.
So this is just not one interview. This is multiple interviews.
Yes.
Now, can you tell us, for instance, how many interviews there were?
That I was involved in, the first meeting at his house in the garage, the first meeting with the AUSA, and then the meeting at Wayne Higgins. But mind you, like I told you, I flew to New York with Mr. Davis. So we were out there for 3 or 4 days.
I'm talking more about specifically the actual meetings in which you're sitting down and asking questions of Mr. Davis.
2.
So that would be the initial meeting with United States Attorney Seawright in the room, and then the second meeting was, at what time?
That was with Mr. Higgins at his office on Wilshire Boulevard, if I'm not mistaken. I forget the date.
Okay, would that be October or December 18th,
2008.
2008?
Yes.
Do you recall actually being involved in a meeting or being knowledgeable of a meeting that took place on December 1st, 2008?
No.
How about a meeting that took place on January 7th, 2009?
I don't recall. No.
How about another meeting that occurred on February 11th, 2009?
I don't recall any of those dates.
Okay.
I just remember the 3 that we dealt with.
Right. And once again, you're refreshing your recollection off of a DEA 6 form, correct?
No, I'm refreshing my recollection off my recollection.
30 years later?
That's right. And about 20 murder trials
Right,
of my own.
which is amazing. Good
It's
job.
not amazing, just doing my job.
But let's just make sure we're clear. I want to make sure this jury understands that you're refreshing recollection off of a DEA 6 form.
No, I told you the DA 6 form that I saw this morning was transferring the case from the DEA to Las Vegas Metro. That's all that's it this morning.
All right, so this is all purely off of your recollection from 30 years ago.
Well, 17, 18 years ago when we got it. The
Okay.
case was 30 years ago. But
Right.
we had it in 2006.
And 20 murder trials later,
That's right.
you're refreshing. Okay,
That's right.
so let's keep going through it. So your testimony here is that at the time of the meeting on December 18th, 2008, you were present for that meeting.
Yes.
And the other people that were present for that meeting was Detective Katie,
Yes.
LAPD Detective William Holcomb,
Yes.
FBI Special Agent Bennett,
Yes. I didn't mention him, but he was there. Yes.
and then was anybody else there present?
Mr. Davis and Mr. Higgins.
And then outside of those, was anybody from the United States Attorney's Office present?
At the first one in 2008, I think, not in 2009. For sure, not 2009. I can say that.
Okay, but I want to make sure we're precise for this jury.
Okay.
On December 18, 2008, was the United States Attorney present for that meeting?
Yes.
Now, in addition to that, the recording that had occurred, and the one that you've introduced into evidence in this case, was that a recording to which Mr. Davis or his attorney knew about?
Which one? 2008 or 2009?
2008.
2008? I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't know it was being recorded either.
Sure. And with regard to the FBI special agent that was there, are you aware of what's called a 302?
Yes.
What is a 302?
It's a report, an information report that they write out, kind of like the DEA 6, kind of.
And then in terms of how the 302 works is they don't actually record information with a recorder. They actually just write things down into the 302, right?
That's correct.
In this particular case, was Special Agent Bennett aware that there was a recording?
I have no idea.
Now, in addition to that, on March 9th, you had said that something that he was, I guess, activated as a confidential informant. So I think it's around that time period, right, of 2009. Between what time periods did Mr. Davis give information to LAPD as a confidential informant? Do you remember?
I don't remember how many times we met or how many times I was involved in speaking to him. But it's just those 3 times, the first time in his garage, 2008, 2009, and then when we went to New York. That's all my dealings with Mr. Davis was, that I can remember.
Now, the December 2008 proffer that you were part of, did you verify any of the information?
That Mr. Davis told us?
Yeah.
We were trying to verify as much as we could.
Okay.
That's
Well,
why we-
tell us the efforts. No, I'm sorry. Can you tell this jury the efforts that you made to verify the information that he gave you in 2008?
Flying to New York to try to get the relationship with Zip, Mr. Martin, because he was involved here in Vegas with the murder and the large sum of money that was supposed to be given to Mr. Martin to give to Mr. Davis. So that's why we flew to New York, to try to get that whole thing going.
Right. And based upon your efforts in New York, were you able to verify that any of that information to be true?
No.
Now, in addition to that, there was other information that Mr. Davis gave up in 2008 in December. Did you verify any of that other information to be true?
I don't think any other information that he gave us was anything except the murder of Tupac.
Sure. Did you at any point verify, for instance, the people that he identified in the vehicle?
No.
You are aware, of course, that some of the people that he had identified in the vehicle were still alive in 2008, right?
One was.
Who was that?
That was Terrence Brown.
Okay. Did you ever verify that Terrence Brown was in Las Vegas at the time of the murder?
We never got a chance to.
Why not?
As I said, our first course of action was to tie in Mr. Combs, the money, and work back from there.
So you fly to New York, it's a bust, you fly back, and then you never follow up on what happens with regard to Mr. Brown?
I didn't.
You're part of the task force. Do you know if anybody else on the task force verified that information, that Mr. Brown was in Las Vegas at the time of the shooting?
No.
Now, in addition to that, we talked a little bit about the type of scenario that Mr. Davis is in, right? He's being targeted as a potential suspect in a Biggie Smalls murder. You develop information about him being a drug dealer, right?
Yes.
And you had said, I think how much time was he looking at? Life sentence?
I think so, yes.
Right, pretty heavy sentence, right?
Yes.
And so you had also targeted the idea, though, that it wasn't just him moving some large amount. It was people coming into his house, potentially his family. People could be arrested, his friends, for instance, that was part of that, and they all could go to prison, right?
I will say this. Mr. Davis took the hit for a lot of people in his family and his kids, his wife, but that's why he did a lot of the stuff he did. I will say that.
And I appreciate you saying that. And so, in essence, he said, okay, this is all on me. I will take the hit for the family.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the way that you recall how he describes what happens and so forth, you had mentioned that he's in the car, he drives up next to the other car, and then he gives the gun to the back seat because he was going to do the shooting, and then he gives it to somebody else. And then I guess it was Dre said, no, I can't do it, and then Orlando fires the gun.
Yes.
Okay. So the four individuals that in the car would have been Mr. Davis, and then Mr. Brown,
Driver.
and then Mr. Smith, and then Mr. Orlando Anderson.
That's correct.
Okay. Do you, at some point, these people come back to Compton, right? Were there any, as far as you know, did anyone attempt to kill Orlando for being the shooter in the vehicle of Tupac Shakur?
I don't know if anyone tried to kill Mr. Anderson, but a lot of other people got shot and killed.
Sure. And so what other people that you recall were being shot and killed?
I don't have the list of people who I know. Darnell Graham got shot, and then an 11-year-old girl got shot. Off the top of my head, I can remember those two. It was war. Compton's 10 square miles, and all of these people know each other from growing up. There was people standing, they were hiding out, walking the streets.
But in terms of the four that's in the vehicle, was Mr. Smith shot?
No, not that I know of.
And what about the other person, Mr. Besides Mr. Davis?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Not that I know of. No.
And then with regards to Mr. Davis, was he shot at?
No, not that I know of.
And once again, this idea is, we're talking about a very compact area of Las Vegas, 10 by 10 miles, multiple blood and Crip gangs just encroached upon one another, right? It's
Yes.
basically like a powder keg.
Street by street.
Right. And in terms of retribution, pretty clear this would be an immediate thing because Tupac Shakur was shot and killed.
Yes.
And Death Row Records, as a member of the mob Pyru, would have been definitely out for blood on that.
Yes.
But none of those four individuals were shot at.
No, not that I know of.
Yeah. And in fact, just to make sure I'm clear, Orlando Anderson was actually shot and killed probably about a year and a half later, right?
Unrelated, yes.
Yes, and it was unrelated, meaning that people that he got into a gunfight with was actually other Crips,
Yes.
right? And it was over money, as far as you can recall.
Yes.
Now, there was some discussion, are you aware of a person by the name of Darnell Bryn?
Yes.
Darnell Brim is, and I think there was some discussion about there was two different sets in the Southside Crips.
Yes.
One set was the Burr Street set,
Correct?
and that would be Burr Street where Mr. Davis lived on,
Yes.
as well as members of his family and so forth, right?
Yes.
The other set was the set that Darnell Brim was in charge of.
From what I hear. I never worked Compton PD, but from what I hear, yes.
Okay. And with regards to Mr. Brim, he was killed pretty much immediately after the shooting of Tupac Shakur.
Mr. Brim is still alive as far as I know.
Oh, you're right. He was shot, though, right?
He was shot.
And then he went to prison for some unrelated matter, something to do with drugs.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in terms of Mr. Brim, was there ever a conversation with Mr. Brim to determine or have questions asked with regards to Tupac Shakur?
When we started, again, I started in 2006. Those questions would have been initially asked of Mr. Brim when he was shot in 96, 97. Those types of things we could have gotten to, but like I said, our first course of action was to solidify where the money came from. If Mr. Combs was involved, and was Mr. Davis telling the truth about being paid for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
And outside of that, any additional sort of boots in the ground discussions or investigation in Compton was handled by somebody else?
The initial, the preliminary,
Right.
and if we would have gotten to that, we probably would have talked to people, but I'm sure that they were talked to already. This is on a Fed level trying to get a RICO case against people. Okay, this is a whole different level of Compton.
Sure.
This is FBI, ATF, DEA. This is trying to solidify that Death Row Records and was built on narcotics and Bad Boy Records. Now, you don't understand this, but I'm from the hood. Everybody knows it was. Okay? Everybody knows that those record companies were started with the sales of narcotics. So the feds were looking at a RICO. We cared about the murders. So this was chasing the money. This was chasing Sean Combs to see if he was involved with, the hit on Mr. Shakur.
And so once you determine that, he's given information not because of Biggie Smalls, but rather because of Shakur, you never once reached out to Metro at that time to say, hey, Las Vegas, you guys are the ones in charge of this murder. Come down to have an interview with Davis?
The decisions were, again, way above my pay grade. And our command staff, whoever made that decision to keep it in-house and for us to handle it on the Fed level, because it would have spread all the way to Las Vegas and not notify Las Vegas Metro at that time, wasn't my decision.
I see. So had it been somebody up the chain, maybe even the United States Attorney?
Whoever.
See, right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not your call to make.
No, I'm just a soldier. Okay.
Right. I appreciate that. Now, in addition to that, sir, in terms of the information we're talking about here, at some point your other LAPD detective leaves the LAPD. Greg Kading.
Yes. In 2011, I think.
And in 2011, I believe he publishes a book.
Yes.
And that book is called Murder Rap.
Yes.
Did you read that book?
Parts of it.
All right. And fair to say, of course, is that if you saw something in the book that was not accurate, you probably tell Greg Kading, like, hey, this is not accurate, this is not right.
I wouldn't tell him nothing. That's
Oh,
his
really?
version. He did what he wanted to do.
Right. Okay, so it's his version of events. You would have been like, okay, this is not right about what I did. I'm just going to leave it alone because that's what Greg Kading interpreted it to be.
No. I'm saying I was on the Los Angeles Police Department, still in charge of the Biggie Smalls case by myself. And whatever came from any books that were written, it was my responsibility to make sure that everybody was okay if they were outed in that book. So I'm not going to tell another man what he should and shouldn't do as far as writing a book. If you want to write a book, write a book. If it comes back my way and I got to investigate something you said, then I'll do that.
So this individual, Greg Kading, leaves LAPD and takes the Tupac file with him?
From what I hear, something to that effect.
Meaning he stole the file.
Something to that effect.
Now, in addition to that, he also took the Biggie file, right, with him when he left.
From what I hear, I've never seen him, but that's what I hear.
And with regards to the recording that we're talking about here, that recording was a recording that he published, at least brought it out to the public, not you.
You will never see me on a podcast, a book, nothing like that.
Yeah.
So, and you never have.
Now, in terms of, though, just your understanding and, being in LA and so forth, Greg Kading has made appearances on podcasts and other things as well, right?
Yes.
And also that would be with documentaries.
Yes.
But at least you're still abiding by the rules and that kind of thing. You would never do that.
I stick to the code. Okay, I'm abide by the streets. You're not going to see me on here telling about what somebody else did. This is the only time you're going to see me talking about what somebody did, sitting in this chair.
And I appreciate that, sir.
Other than that, you'll never see me doing that.
Okay. And with regards to your participation, though, in the interviews, during the time period that you're hearing Mr. Davis talk about these things, were you aware at all that he was recommended that this other attorney step in for his attorney Edie Falls and basically have this conversation?
No, to my knowledge from the media, I thought Edie Falls would have been his attorney. So I don't know anything about that. Again, that was way above my whatever I was doing there. I don't know who made that decision. I never talked to Mr. Davis. I didn't know Mr. Higgins at that point.
Okay.
So,
Were you aware that when Metro was finally notified?
yes,
When was that?
the 2009 interview. if I'm
Yes,
not
sir.
mistaken.
Did you make that call to Metro?
Chain of command. Somebody upstairs called Vegas when we disbanded our unit. Our case was going back to our DA. Las Vegas Metro, they were going to take over their case. So somebody in our chain of command reached out to somebody in Metro, I guess, and said, hey, we got some information for you. Somebody needs to talk to you about Tupac. I knew Detective Dan Long. It trickled all the way down to us. Either he called me or I called him and set up the interview.
Did you tell Detective Long when he appeared here in LA for the interview with Mr. Davis that he had given a proffer in 2008?
Yes, I think he was aware of what we had. Unfortunately, he was aware of what we had done to that point, yes.
Meaning that you had a conversation with him, say, hey, by the way, there was a proffer in place in 2008. Here's the information.
I'm sure I did. I don't recall if I told him immediately or whatever, but he was aware that we had been dealing with Mr. Davis.
So, and once again, that proffer agreement between you, the government, or, the various people of the task force plus Mr. Davis, up until that point, there was no violation of that agreement, right?
Not to my knowledge, I don't know.
Right, meaning that, for instance, Mr. Davis didn't do anything that would say, hey, you violate the terms of this agreement.
No, I never used that term with him because, no.
Right, but at the same time, your higher-ups felt at this particular point, yeah, give the information that you just learned about Mr. Davis from 2008, give that to Metro, right?
Yes.
And once again, and I want to make sure I'm clear because I don't want to forget this question, you didn't verify anything outside of the P. Diddy potential payment that was the part of that you were looking at.
Yes.
So everything else would have been going back to Detective Long to do his investigation in Las Vegas about the information given to him by Mr. Davis?
I mean, he was going to be aware of that, yes.
Okay. But once again,
that was already out, a possibility. Just hearing Mr. Davis say it kind of solidified it, that we need to look more into this part of it, instead of it just being Tupac getting killed, Death Row, and Southside, they were involved.
yeah, but I think we're here for a slightly different purpose. We're in Las Vegas, and we just want to know what facts were presented or at least established with regards to this situation. You're telling me Detective Long would have been one to verify whether Mr. Brown was here in Las Vegas, whether any of the other individuals in the vehicle that was represented to you was actually here in Las Vegas to establish that, right? That was his job, not yours.
Yeah, on the murder.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now, there was some activity that happened in Compton. I just want to make sure I'm clear. You weren't part of any of the investigations in Compton with regards to the gang issues and so forth. You weren't part of that.
No.
That would have been somebody else from Compton.
Compton and Metro and whoever else.
Okay. I just have one.
Yeah. Court's indulgence, sure.
Your Honor, I pass the witness. Thank you.
Okay. Any redirect, Mr. Juckman?
Just briefly, you brought up the fact that Mr. Davis said, well, basically, Sean Puffy Combs solicited the murder of Shogun Tupac during the course of that conversation.
Yeah.
Did he tell you where that conversation occurred?
It's a deli called Greenblatt's, still there on Sunset in Hollywood in Los Angeles.
If he never provides that portion of the information, what jurisdiction would LA have to be investigating a homicide that occurred in Las Vegas? None?
No.
So it was that piece of information which provided LAPD jurisdiction to even be looking at this murder.
You could say that. But like I said, on the Fed case with the RICO, that would have got incorporated into the RICO, the murder anyway, and that's what we were looking at. But yes, that's where it started, so you can use that also.
And so you were unable to confirm through ZIP the Puffy Combs angle of the case. At some point, your agency said, hey, we got to tell Vegas what we've been doing.
Yes.
And at that point, Dan Long comes down, and you are in a room with Dan Long, Mr. Davis, his lawyer, and there's a conversation that occurs.
That's correct.
At that time, the only person left alive in the vehicle was Terrence Bubba Brown, right?
Yes.
Mr. Brown was a resident of LA, correct?
Correct.
And was there at least a discussion between you and Dan, hey, if Mr. Brown ever gets himself into some real trouble, maybe we'll have some leverage to talk to Mr. Brown?
Yes.
And then unfortunately Mr. Brown got killed as well.
Yes.
And so the last person alive in the vehicle is Mr. Davis.
That's correct.
Nothing further.
Anything further, Mr. Sanft?
Okay, so what investigation with Mr. Brown are we talking about? You wouldn't be able to verify information about where he was, whether or not he was in Las Vegas, right? You're saying. You, with Mr. Brown.
We wouldn't be able to?
Yeah.
We could have, I guess.
Right.
We would have got to that, yeah.
Sure. And with regard to that, you didn't make that effort while he was still alive. And would it be fair to say, of course, that even if someone had passed, that you would still need to verify what Mr. Davis said to you, regardless of whether or not the person's passed or not?
We would have to verify everything.
Right.
And like I said, the start of it was Sean Puffy Combs, so that's where we started.
Sure. And your focus is a little different, but in terms of the actual murder of Tupac Shakur, information with regards to, these other individuals in the car, that would have been given to Metro to handle here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Okay. No further questions.
State, anything further?
Of course he will. Yes, one follow-up. In your 34 years, 20 homicide trials, ever made a case on a guy confessing to a homicide?
Yeah, I've had a couple confessions. Yeah.
When you were talking to Mr. Davis and he's telling you what he's telling you, did you have reason to doubt his version of events as it relates to the homicide itself?
I didn't think Mr. Davis was lying because he put the gun in his nephew's hand. And if anybody knows anything from what I hear, Mr. Orlando Anderson was the man besides Keefe D in that neighborhood. He was the prince, and his family loved him. I didn't think that Mr. Davis would put the gun in his own nephew's hand, dead or alive, and put that smut on him unless it was true. The person that killed Tupac, well, in the neighborhood, he's a hero. In the world, he's a villain. So I didn't think Mr. Davis, me personally, would do that unless it was true with his own nephew, because I know he loved his nephew. They all loved Orlando.
And so that particular fact, knowing the culture, and now it's 2008. I mean, let me ask you this. Was Tupac Shakur larger than life after death?
Yes, but had he would have been legendary if he lived.
And in 2008, he is legendary at that point.
But he's dead.
And if it gets out that Mr. Davis has said his nephew pulled the trigger, would there be consequences for his neighborhood?
I mean, just the way it looks, him being a hero, meaning Tupac to the world, and then this gang, like I said, in the streets, in his hood, Orlando wasn't looked at that, but people are going to always say the Southsiders, the ones who killed Tupac, Nipsey Hussle, all these people who were like that. That's what comes with that. Now you could wear a badge and act like it's something in your hood, but in the world, that's not a good thing to be, remembered as or thought of as the person that killed Tupac. Even though what happened to Mr. Orlando Anderson wasn't right.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything further based on that?
Yes, Your Honor. So I just want to make sure I'm clear. You go to Mr. Davis because he's the target of Biggie Smalls' murder.
Yes.
You interview him, and at some point in the future, you determine that Mr. Davis is not involved in Biggie Smalls' murder.
Yes.
While you're in the room showing him the information that you have about the drug aspect of it, a life sentence potentially, and everyone in his family or people in his family and friends potentially getting all in the middle of that with all kinds of problems, right? He decides to take the hit, as like you said, right? And instead of saying, hey, I don't have anything about Biggie Smalls, which you now have confirmed, he had nothing to do with Biggie Smalls, so he had no information. He says, I actually have information, and Orlando Anderson is one of those people, right? And at the time he says it, Orlando's actually dead, right? And people in the community of Compton had all had this sort of thing going on that potentially Orlando Anderson was involved in the murder of Tupac, correct?
Correct.
So that information was available to Mr. Davis when he gave you that information, right?
Yes.
But once again, you were targeted for Biggie Smalls, and there was no information that would say he was involved in Biggie Smalls, so he couldn't give you any of that information, right? No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything further, Mr. DiGiacomo?
Okay.
I've lost track of how many redirects we're on, so.
Sorry.
All right. You're okay, guys. Any questions from the jury? Looking at that side of the box? No? Okay. Oh, we do have one. Okay. We have a few. All right, a question from one of our jurors for you. For clarity, would you say the feds were more worried about the bigger fish and the whole puzzle rather than the pieces, being you had the information from Keefe and didn't need to put it together?
Yes, they were worried about the bigger picture, but this is 2006, and the smaller types of investigations on both cases had already been run to ground. You needed to come with a different type of investigation to try to see if you can get it. So that's why Detective Kading, the LAPD, that's why you brought in the FBI, ATF, DEA, other agencies to all help to try to solve both cases once we found out what Mr. Davis had said. it was Biggie Smalls at first, and then it went to Tupac Shakur.
Okay. Any follow-up questions based on that, Mr. DiGiacomo?
No.
Any follow-up questions based on that, Mr. Sanft?
No.
Okay. You've faked us out again. All right. You are free to go. Thank you so much, Mr. Dupree.
Your Honor, one quick thing before the witness leaves.
Oh.
May we approach?
If you want to just have him wait in the hall, or where do you want him to wait?
If he can just be back on the stand for a second.
Oh, okay. Mr. Dupree, as you discussed earlier with the parties, you may be subject to recall in this case, but it would be okay to do it via Zoom. If you could refrain from, you're ordered not to discuss your testimony with anyone else in this case until you are released from that potential recall. Okay, thank you. You are now free to go. All right, State, what did you want to present next?
Well, we're going to start the 2008 statement, so we fill up the rest of the day.
Okay.
But we have at least one witness tomorrow, so we'll call that witness tomorrow and then probably continue on the rest of the day with the rest of the statements.
Does it make sense then? All right.
Does it make? I mean,
Go
unless
ahead.
the court wants us to call the witness tomorrow at 1 and then start the statements, I
think that might make the most sense.
there's just more time in the statements than there is in the day tomorrow. So we still don't
If we
finish.
play
it.
the half hour today, will that finish it out tomorrow?
It all depends on Mr. Sam's cross of the witness.
Well, Your Honor, Your Honor, there's two statements, right? I think we can definitely play one of the statements after the witness tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we have a subsequent statement. We're also playing that we introduced through Mr. Dupree. So.
And none of them will finish in the half hour, the 35 minutes we have left.
That's correct.
That is correct.
All right, I'm going to have the jury, I'm just going to have the jury leave a little bit early today. We'll have them back at 1 o'clock tomorrow. All right, during this recess, you are admonished not to talk or converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial, or read, watch, or listen to any report or commentary on the trial of any person connected to this case by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, the internet, and radio, or form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until the case is submitted to you. We'll see you guys back here at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you.
Stand adjourned.
For the record, the jury has exited the room. Anything we need to address outside the presence?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay, I think it just makes more sense to play that as a block as opposed to a half hour, and I didn't realize we were breaking it up between a witness in between, so. Okay, I apologize for any inconsistency up the back. All right, we'll be in recess. We'll see everyone back at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
Thank you, Judge.